Hello everyone. Good evening all. Can you let me know if I'm audible and if my screen is visible? Yes, guys. Yeah, okay, great. So we'll be starting shortly. Let's wait for some time for all the people to join because this is going to be a orientation session. We're not going to start with any new topic. We are not going to be started with the course. We're just going to introduce you to the curriculum, what all things you will be going through, how exactly the classes will be, and what else you will be studying. We'll go through all of that. Whatever doubts you have regarding the course, how it will be going, we'll be resolving that for the day. Right. That's what we'll be doing today. And from, you can say tomorrow, day after tomorrow, depending on the scenario, we will start with classes. Yeah. So let's wait. Let's wait for 2 more minutes max to max for people to join. And then we can start with the class, guys. My name is Aditya Gosai, and I've already shared my, you can say, LinkedIn profile details and my GitHub details with you guys on the group. I think that every one of you is very well aware about that. So yeah, if you want, you can know more about me there and what I've done, what I represent, and how much years of experience I have. Everything is already present with you guys. Yeah, so you can also check it out. And yes, we'll be starting shortly. But before that, let's wait for people to join because I can see there are people still joining. Till then, we can have a little bit of interaction. Guys, definitely I know that you are muted at this point of time, so you cannot unmute. The reason being there is a slight bit of disturbance which happens in between. So yes, I'll unmute you guys at a point where you can ask some doubts, but for the time being, you will be on mute. Till then, I would like to know which place you are at or where exactly you are placed at this point of time, what you're doing, what you're pursuing. Are you in college? What are you studying? What is your, you can say, you're doing a job, whatever you're doing, and what are you expecting from this course? Yeah, guys, you can write it down in the chat box, and yeah, we can interact about that. Okay, college third year, great guys, great. Okay, BTech CSE, nice. UPES Dehradun, great guys. First year of BTech, nice, very good time to start, guys. Because if you're in a first year, yes, absolutely a very good time to go with a particular technology if you are very sure about it that yes, you need to pursue it. College third year, great time, guys. Second year, nice. Okay, TE, Engineering Mumbai, nice. Second year, Chandigarh University, nice. Third year, great guys. BTech CAC third year, second year, BTech. Fine. A lot of students I can see from the tech background. Great guys, great. From Ghaziabad, okay, great. 1 year BTech, fine. Fourth year, college year. Great guys, great. Computer science, BCA, third year. So yeah, I can see a lot of people from the tech background. Great guys. And anyone from here who is not from the tech background, who does not know how exactly coding is done or anything related to coding, right? You've never studied any programming language or anything of that sort. Fourth year. So I can see, yeah, a lot of people. Okay, BTech, MTech, yeah, third year, fourth year. So a lot of people who are from third and fourth year. Great guys. Okay, BSc, BTech Electronics, great. Third year IT, great guys, great. And yeah, I can see a lot of BTech IT, definitely. Final year mechanical engineering, okay, great. Okay, guys, fine. Nice to have you all here. So guys, I am actually placed in Delhi. So yeah, I'm recording from Delhi at this point of time. And yes, guys, every single video gets recorded. Okay. So if you're not able to attend a particular day and you are not able to attend it for, you can say, several amount of days, that's totally fine because you get recorded lectures every single day. So if today we are having, you can say, a class, you can say in 1 or 2 hours you will get the uploaded video link and you will be able to revisit it. You will be able to review the video, and yes, it will be provided to you in a playlist format so that you can view through it. You can go through the whole process. Okay, and it will stay with you for the lifetime. Okay. It's not like we will be taking it back from you after 3 months completion of the course. It will stay with you if you want to read through it, if you want to go through it, it's totally on you. Okay, fine, great. Now, the first thing I would like to tell you, because this will be approximately, it will take approximately 3 months for you to complete the course. Yes, it totally depends. It can extend or it can be decreased depending on the time slots which we take. Definitely, that is possible. But yeah, it will on an average take you 3 months to complete the whole course. And we'll be going through a hell lot of stuff, guys. We'll be going through the basics. We'll be starting from the scratch. And then we'll move to a level where you will feel very comfortable with every single tech which we have talked about. Yeah, so I can see there are still people joining, not an issue. Let's wait for a few more minutes. And yeah, then we'll proceed. So first we'll be starting with the curriculum, guys. Okay, we'll talk about what exactly the curriculum looks like, what all projects you'll be creating. We'll talk about all of that. And then we'll proceed with the doubts, like what all additional things you'll be getting, all about DSA, how you'll be getting the DSA, right? What all complementary courses you'll be getting with it, all other details like how the doubt classes will happen. Do we have a platform or not for proper communication? Yes, we do have. We'll also talk about that and how the onboarding will take place. So everything will be covered. Okay. So yeah, very good question. Someone asked that should we code in the, you can say classes side by side? I would not prefer that. The reason being that there will be times that when I'm going through very basic topics, fine, you can code with me because I will be going a little bit slow, right? In the starting, yes, we'll be covering very basic topics like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Yes, these are topics which require your base to be strong. Yes, you can code with me. Definitely, if you have good typing skills, yes, you can code. But the reason being, I want you to focus a little bit more on those topics because everything else which you will be studying in future will be totally dependent on those three languages, HTML, CSS, and mostly JavaScript. So what I want you to do is not code along with me at that point of time. Because yes, I'll be explaining certain amount of things which are pretty important. I want you to note them down because yes, you'll be getting notes, you'll be getting resources, you'll be getting different blog links and resources. Everything will be available. If I'm teaching to you with the help of a PPT or something, you will get that. You'll get a proper, you can say, folder-like structure in the drive, in a Google Drive, where you'll get all things. So if I'm writing something, if I'm scribbling something on a whiteboard, you will get that. But I want you to make your personal notes as well because it always helps. Right. Whatever I'm writing, whatever I'm scribbling, I'm doing it in my own handwriting. And it might be confusing at points of time if you're not watching it with a video. So I want you to take your own notes as well so that it is comfortable for you to go through the important things, go through the things which you find to be important at that point of time. Okay. Okay. Now let's proceed. Fine, guys. Let's talk about it now. So yeah, guys, there will be a portal. Don't worry about it. There will be LMS portal if you're talking about that. Yes. So we will be onboarding your students to that, definitely. So I'll share a sheet where you will have to fill all your credentials and details, whatever we require for you to be registered on the portal. And yes, we'll be taking our classes onto that level, right? We will initially, you can see that I was sharing the link on the WhatsApp groups at this point of time. You're getting the links on the WhatsApp groups. It's not a centralized system because whatever notes I'll be sharing, all of that will be on the WhatsApp groups. And yes, definitely you might miss out something. So that's why we'll be shifting to the portal as soon as possible so that everything you get is in a proper manner. Every DSA lectures, whatever you can say resources, whatever video lectures, all of that will be uploaded on that single portal so that you can revisit it at any point of time. Even the meeting links, whatever meeting you need to join, you can just join, and all the notifications, everything you'll get on that portal. And yes, we will be onboarding you to that portal, but that will take a little bit of time. It will take 4 to 5 days, or maybe even the first week it can take, Because yes, there are a little bit of steps we need to take to get you back on that portal. But yes, we'll do that slowly and gradually. Okay, so let's start, guys. Yes, I know there might be some additional doubts you might get regarding something like DSAs, how the process will be, what all projects will make. So just hold those doubts for now, because I would not be, you can say, questioning any specific doubts related to those topics at this point of time. Whatever you doubts you have additional, irrespective of the curriculum, we will talk about them at the end of the class. Okay, I'll go through the curriculum first, what all things we'll be talking about, what exactly each one of these things are, and then we will move to the end of the topics, and then we'll talk about all of your doubts regarding the rest of the stuff, like what all additional things you'll be getting, what all complementary courses you will be getting, what will be the procedure of getting the, you can say, recorded videos, everything regarding that we'll talk about it at the end of the session. Okay. Okay, guys, if you did not have any, you can say, coding language experience, right? That's not a problem. Because whenever we'll be starting with a coding language, like we'll be studying core JavaScript at this point of time. Okay, because we will be starting with JavaScript, and most of the, you can say, things we'll be writing in future will somewhere include JavaScript as a programming language. So we'll start from scratch so that you do not have a problem understanding it. So that should not be a problem. If you do not have a coding background, that is not a problem. Now let's proceed, guys. I think we are good to go. Yes or no? Guys, in between, I would be asking you for an answer. Like if I'm explaining a topic, if I'm explaining something, I would ask that yes or no. Are you able to understand? If you are not able to, then definitely you can ask a question and I'll try to resolve your doubts regarding that. Okay. So yeah, I can see a lot of yeses. So let's proceed, guys. Let's get into the curriculum. So yeah, you can see this will be our 3 months curriculum. It's, you can say, pretty big because we'll be going through a lot of different technologies. But let me just tell you about the overview, right? You can see a lot of things we'll be covering, but what exactly all of this will be ending into. So we will be working as a full stack web developer, right? You can say basically tell it as an experience, because whatever you will be learning, you can implement it in your real life. We'll be going through a lot of, you can say, projects. We'll be building a lot of different projects in real time, so that we know how exactly every single thing which you have learned works. So our main stack, guys, remember, whenever you are learning something like full stack web development. So, okay, let me just decrease it. And yes, let's proceed. So whenever you are learning something like full stack web development, you need to remember something. Okay. The first thing is that every time you learn full stack web development, there is a technology stack. There is a tech stack you need to remember, which every single person uses. Okay. So the tech stack which we are talking about depends on what you are familiar with. Most of the times, different companies use different technology stacks. What is a stack? A bunch of different technologies which all together create your full website. Because yes, definitely for creating a website, you might require more than one different, you can say, technologies. And yes, we'll be using a tech stack, and the tech stack we'll be using is something known as MERN stack, which is one of the very popular technology stacks for building websites. Now, there are also a lot of different stacks, but we will be focusing on the MERN stack. Okay. Now, what MERN stack means, what exactly the full form is, we will know about all of that, but this is the main technology stack we are using. Now, if you actually think about the full form of this, each word here actually stands for a technology name. Like M stands for something known as MongoDB. Now, what exactly this is, we'll talk about it. But for now, you can just understand the full names. E stands for Express. R stands for React. And N stands for Node.js. And this is the technology stack. These are the different technologies we'll be learning. Definitely there will be additional, but this is the core technology stack which you will be learning. And when you know all of this, you can say that you're good enough to make or create fully fledged web applications. Yes, you can say that. Yeah, absolutely. Now let's proceed and let's talk about the curriculum. So we'll be learning this MERN stack. And when we go through the curriculum, you will be able to understand that, yes, we'll be touching on these technologies and points. So let's start with the fundamentals. Now, initially, you will be starting with something known as web fundamentals. And this is very important for everyone to know. Okay, so we'll be starting with fundamentals of web development. Now, this is nothing. It's just the very basics of how your websites actually work. Now, before starting with the coding part, you actually need to know how the internet works. So you need to know like how internet works, how exactly do you get a website? What all things do you get with a website? Now, these are some things very basic, but very important to know for you to understand how you will be creating websites in future and how they will be received by the user or whosoever is visiting your website. So we'll be talking about web, you can say, development fundamentals. In that, we'll be talking about something known as protocols. We'll be talking about different protocols used in communication on the internet. We'll be talking about, you can say, browsers. So how exactly browsers are able to show you different websites on the screen. And we'll be talking about some basic knowledge of what all things happens in your browser so that it is able to display you certain different pages. And we'll be talking about a little bit networking as well. So networking part. So if you are a student of, you can say, computer science or anything related to, you can say, BTech or something of that sort, then you would definitely have this topic anywhere, either now or in future, or you might have studied it related to computer networking. So yes, it is somewhat related to that. We'll not be getting into a lot deeper knowledge of that, but yes, we'll be knowing the scratch portion of it, that what all things you need to know in terms to understand how browsers work. So that is what we'll be talking about in web fundamentals. Okay, that is what we'll talk about in web fundamentals. And then we'll proceed with our first two topics, which is HTML and CSS. Okay. Now we'll be starting with HTML and CSS after this. And HTML stands for, or basically stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay. It is not a programming language. Guys, remember, most of the people confuse with it, but it's not a programming language. It's a markup language. Okay. It's just used for building structures. What structures? It's used for building web page structures. So if I see a website, you have a structure for that website, like how exactly everything needs to look. That is what is created with the help of HTML. Okay, don't you can say misread it. It's HTML. I just wrote markup language for it, but yes, it's used for structuring a web page. How it should look. Like if you have a heading, then you need to know, right? This is a heading. This is a paragraph. This is an image. This is a video. So all of that is actually made understood with the help of HTML. So HTML is used for structuring. It is the skeleton of a page. Right, that's what HTML stands for. And CSS is cascading style sheet. CSS stands for cascading style sheet. Now, what is cascading style sheet? Now, definitely you have a structure, you have a skeleton for your web page. But with that skeleton, you also need something known as beautification. Okay, your website needs to look a little bit prettier as compared to normal usual websites. That's why we require cascading style sheet. It is used for styling your web pages. If I give you a basic example, if I tell it to you in terms of you can say real life example, let's understand it with the help of an example of a car. When you see a car, you see the basic skeletal structure of the car, right? You see the rims, how it is created, the structure, the metallic portion or the stainless steel used for it. Now, what is that? That is your HTML. That is your HTML section, which is actually responsible for building the structure of the car. Now you have the car structure. This is your car. This is the structure of the car. And that is created with the help of HTML. Okay. This is created with the help of HTML. Now you just have the structure. Only the structure is present with you. Now you need something known as CSS on top of it. Why CSS? Because CSS will tell you that what the shape of the car needs to be like, what colors the car needs to have, right? What other properties the car needs to have in terms of beautification, structure, layout. That is what CSS is used for. And yeah, it's mostly used for attraction, definitely, right? And in a car, attraction is definitely related to the layout or basically the shape, and you can say colors used in it and dynamicness, right? So that is what you can add in a car. But if you really think about it, guys, I have a structure of a car. I have applied my styles. I have everything I require in terms of style. But is it really functional at this point of time? Not exactly. If you really think about it, okay, I have it, but I have an empty portion at the starting, empty portion at the end, and yes, empty portions in between. What are those? Those are known as functionalities. And that is what you can add with something known as JavaScript, guys. So till now you have a structure, till now you have a design with styles, but you don't have something known as functionality. If we talk about it in terms of car, you don't know, you don't have an engine, you don't have a speed transition, you don't have wheels onto it, you don't have a, you can say, different light modes, right? So these are some sort of functionalities. Okay, these are something known as functionalities which you can add to a car in terms of the example which we were talking about. So yes, that is important. That is important for your car to function. Similarly, in HTML and CSS, when you build a website, you have built it a basic layout, you have added some styles to it, but it requires something known as JavaScript on top of it. So now your page with HTML plus CSS also requires something known as JavaScript for functionality. Now, what functionality we are talking about? You can say functionality with a short form. And what functionality we are talking about? Functionalities like, if you see a website like Instagram or Twitter, if you don't have something like JavaScript on top of it, what exactly you see? You see a very basic layout. Okay, let's say this is my tweet block. I am in Twitter and this is my tweet block. I have a message to say here. And now I know I at the bottom have a post button here, which I can click and I can post this message or tweet whatever I wrote here. But if you don't have JavaScript, if you don't have functionality, you actually don't know what will happen when you click on this button. That is what functionality is, right? It's sort of a function, right? Your website knows that when someone clicks on this button, what to happen or what should happen. So what it is all about? It is all about interaction. So how exactly the user should interact with the website and what should happen when a user interacts with your website. That's what JavaScript tells you. Like if you have certain different buttons on your website, what should happen when a particular person clicks on a button? If he navigates from one page to another, what should happen? If he wants to see a particular page, should he be able to see that page? Is he authorized to do that? So all of that logic, all of that, you can say calculative path, right? Conditional part, that is all the part of JavaScript, guys. JavaScript is responsible for doing interactions on your website. Okay, got it? Understood? Able to, you can say, resonate with whatever I'm telling you or whatever I'm talking about at this point of time? Yes or no, guys? And then we'll proceed. Okay, guys, great. Yeah, so now, okay, fine. Now you know what is HTML, now you know what is CSS, and now you also know what is JavaScript. Now you know what all things they are able to do. So yeah, did you get a website? Did you actually get a full-fledged website out of it? Yes, in a way, but not exactly in a way. So what did I mean by yes and no all together? So guys, there is a reason for it. Let me just talk about it and then we'll proceed with what exactly I mean. So guys, when you have HTML, CSS and JavaScript, there is some breakdown which I need to show you before we move into the more complex part. So now you have the knowledge of HTML. Now you have the knowledge of CSS. Now you have the knowledge of basic JavaScript, which is used in your website. So now, do you really get a full-fledged website? Not exactly. And why am I saying not exactly? The reason being, what you got till now is something known as a front end, guys. So in a website can actually be broken down into sections, guys. When you create a website, it can be broken down into certain different small sections, and we'll be talking about those sections. Now, whatever you understood till now, whatever we did till now, what all was all related to your front end. What is a front end? Front end actually talks about interactiveness. Whatever a person, or you can say visitor of the website, is capable of viewing, watching, interacting with, is known as the front end. So whenever a user visits google.com, instagram.com, any other website, whatever he receives is actually HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript with it for interaction, which I told you, like when buttons are clicked, what to happen, when he moves from one page to another, what to happen, right? All of that is all included in the JavaScript. Okay. Now user has something to interact with, user has something to see. But the business logic, the logic of the website actually lies inside something known as a backend, guys. Okay. Now, if you really see, let me just tell you an example. Let's talk about Instagram. Okay. We know the all basic purpose of Instagram. Instagram is a social media site where I can share my, you can say, personal videos or images to my friends, to other people, right? That's what the basic feature or the basic thing for what people use Instagram for. But now, if you really talk about the logic, is it something new? Is it something really that different? That other people or other companies are not able to copy it? Not exactly, right? It's a very basic, you can say, logic, right? Very basic thing. Everyone can copy it. Everyone can see it. Then why exactly are people and businesses not able to replicate Instagram? The reason being that they don't know something known as the business logic. What is the business logic? The main funda, the main logic on which your website runs. And that is always stored in something known as your backend. Backend is actually like the brain or brains for your website. It actually stores all the logic behind your application. And that's how Instagram or any other website on the internet works. It stores all its brain, the logic behind it on the backend. And guys, backend is never shared with people, guys. Okay, backend is never accessible by anyone until and unless he has the authority. So what happens exactly is whenever you are on the internet, you actually request for, let's say, Instagram.com. So you say Instagram.com. Now, what you actually get after making a request to Instagram.com to visit it is something known as frontend. What you receive is something known as frontend with all the logic of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript so that you can see a beautiful website. Now, that's the skeleton part. That's just a dummy thing. Why? Because you don't actually have the access to brain yet. Now, when you are clicking on some buttons, when you're actually interacting here, right, on the website, then you actually communicate with your brain. So when you do some interactions on the website, when you search for a name, when you click on a button, when you watch a video, then you interact in between for some seconds or milliseconds to your brain, to the backend of your website. And then it starts its logic. Then it computes that what all things needs to be done and sends you some result back. That's how backends work. Backend is nothing but a set of functionalities which are the main core business logic, or you can say the main brain of your application. They run, that's why your website is able to run. Whatever important secured part you have, right? That is what is actually stored in your backend. Okay, your brain of your application. And yes, guys, it's never visible to a normal customer. Like I'm on Instagram. I know that I can post a story. I know that I can post a photo, right? But I don't know how exactly it happens, right? I don't know what is the logic behind it. I don't know where it is stored, right? I don't know how to access it without the use of front end, right? That's all which is not actually understood by me, or I don't know about. Why? Because I'm not a part of their community or their development team, right? That's what is a backend. And that's why backends are used to be or known to be secure, because no one can access them until and unless they need to. And then we have something known as, you can say, data store, or you can say database. And guys, this you can see it is 3-tier. You have front end, you have back end, and you have database. This is actually known as a 3-tier architecture, guys. Okay, this is a 3-tier architecture which we are talking about. So whenever we'll be building a website, we'll be building it in these 3 parts. We'll be building front end, which is what the person is able to see. We'll build a backend, which contains the logic for that website, and we'll have a database. What is a database? Database is nothing. It's just a storage unit which stores all your details, right? Whatever you want to show on the internet or on your website, it is all stored in the database. Like if you go on your Instagram profile, you know that you have your username, you know, you have your name, you have your contact details, you have a password. All of that is what? It is some readable data. And that is what is stored in your databases, guys. Database actually is used for storing data. It can be anything. It can be, you can say, textual data. It can be some binary formatted data. It can be images, videos, whatever it is. But yes, they can be sort of stored into it. And yeah, guys, That is what is database. How the communication happens? Communication happens in the way I showed you. So front end communicates with the back end communicates with the database. Okay, that's how it happens. So front end would request something from the back end would request something from the database. The database will send back the data to the backend, and then the backend will send that data to the front end. This is how the communication in between happens, and this is how they share the data and give you the end result and show you the end website. Okay. Now, yes, definitely, it's a little bit complex for someone who is really new to, you can say, full stack web development, or he does not know a lot about web development. But yes, I think that you are able to understand the baseline out of it, right? How exactly your full stack is actually divided into certain smaller sections, and we will be starting with one of them at a time. So initially, when we started with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, we were able to achieve front-end development. We can call ourselves that, yes, we know front-end development and how it happens. Did you get it? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, great. Now let's proceed. So now we know the basics of front-end. It's not perfect, guys, definitely. There are a lot of things you can do in the front end, but you know the base of the front end till now. Now we'll talk about some advanced stuff. Now let's proceed. So, okay, now we know the front end. Now we know how it is built. But there is a catch to it, guys. Okay, you can actually build a fully fleshed front end. HTML, CSS, JavaScript are enough to do that. But there is a hell lot of things you will have to do on just with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Trust me, guys. I've done it. I've tried it a lot of times. And I say that, yes, you have to write a lot of code if you just use these technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Because yes, you'll have to write a lot of small unnecessary things which can actually be created for you by someone else. And that's what developers found problem is. They thought that, okay, these are certain things that I'm using again and again. And I think that these are certain things that other people who are building the website might also use again and again. So why not I build a library, or why not I build something, build a technology which will help people reuse my code. And that's what is actually Bootstrap. What is Bootstrap? Bootstrap is a CSS library, guys. It's a CSS library. So when we are done with JavaScript, we will jump on to Bootstrap. Yes, we'll jump on to Bootstrap. What is Bootstrap? It is a CSS library. Okay, remember it is a CSS library and it says CSS. So yes, you can pretend, or you can know that, yes, it is somewhat related to CSS, what we studied about style sheets, right? So now, what exactly is it? What does a library mean? Let's talk about that. Yep. So guys, CSS libraries are actually very simple to understand. Okay. For that, you will have to understand how exactly CSS works. So guys, this is an example. Okay. So this is your CSS. Let's say you wrote some code and this is your CSS. Now, let's say that I wanted to create something known as a button, right? A very common thing, a button on a website. This is a button. This is how it looks like. And it says, let's say post. It's a green color button. It has some border onto it. It has some styles to it. Now, this is something I wanted to create. Now, I created it with something known as CSS. Okay. For CSS, I would say, let's say approximately I needed to write 20 lines of code. Okay. Of code just to style this button properly, the way I wanted it to be. Now, guys, fine. That is done with 20 lines of code. But is it really necessary to do that way? Can I not write or code this in just lesser lines as compared to 20 lines? Absolutely, you can. And that's why we use something known as Bootstrap. What is Bootstrap? It is just an extension to CSS. Okay. It's not like it removes something from CSS. It's just an extension of it. It's just something which is added in top of CSS. So what is it? It is a library. And it is specifically a CSS library, guys. Okay, remember it is a CSS library. What does it mean by a CSS library? It means that whatever you write in Bootstrap, right? Whatever code you write in Bootstrap, it is nothing but actually plain CSS. Okay, whatever you will use in Bootstrap, it will again at the end be converted to CSS only. Okay, It's just, you can say, a higher level in compared to CSS. Yeah, what it does is just this. Whatever you wrote here in 20 lines of code, you can actually achieve it in a smaller lines of code. And that's what Bootstrap does. Bootstrap provides you easier ways, easier solutions, easier formats in which you can create the same button, but in a lesser lines of code. Okay. And that's what Bootstrap is used for. Whatever you write in Bootstrap is actually nothing but a form of CSS. Because when you compute it, when our, you can say, websites actually communicate or compute it. Compute means calculate it. It actually at the end converts it into CSS only. But the solution, or but the, you can say, positiveness which we got from it is that we need to write less amount of code. You can see whatever I used to do in 20 lines of code, I can do in 10 lines of code. This is just a very basic example. This is not how exactly things work, but this is what Bootstrap does. It's written in CSS. Remember, it's a CSS library. It means that whatever you write in it will in turn be created into CSS only. Okay. It's just that whatever you write in it will be a little bit easier to understand. You can say a little bit shorter in terms of, you can say, lines of code, and yes, faster to implement. And that's the reason it is used. I think you are with me at this point and you are able to understand what Bootstrap is actually doing. Yes or no, guys? Yes? Okay, great. Fine. Now let's proceed. So now we know what Bootstrap is. Now we know what everything is being done or whatever is happening. Now, after this, we'll also talk about something known as, so now we are done. We know how an additional library, we actually used an additional library on top of it that is known as Bootstrap, and it helped us out in what it helped us out in creating a CSS a little bit easier, right? That's what Bootstrap did. Now guys, after learning the front end, after learning the very basics of front end, now we'll jump to something known as Node.js. So now we know how the front end works. We made our CSS and our life easy a little bit with the help of Bootstrap as well. But now we'll jump on something known as server, guys. You can see this is something related to servers. Okay. So what is this? This is actually the part which we call as backend, guys. This is your backend portion. You see here, this is your backend part. So when we talked about the MERN stack at the top, remember I told you we will be using MERN stack, and there E and N, you can see these are E and N. This was Express and N was Node.js. So now we are getting closer to that technology stack which we were talking about that we'll be using for creating our fully fledged websites. Yeah. So in the backend, we'll be talking about Express and Node.js. These are two technologies which we use to create our servers. What are servers? Again, the same thing. So if I use backend or if I say server, both are same things, guys. Okay. Both of them are same things. Yes. This is what you use to create or store your business logic, which is not accessible by everyone on the system. Okay. Yep. So that is what we have. After that, what we'll have or what we learn in it is something known as microservice and architecture. So when we know the basics of Node.js and Express.js, and they are used for making backends and servers, in that we will actually learn an additional thing which is known as microservice architecture. Now, this is not a new technology, guys. Remember, this is not a new technology. This is the architecture. What is the architecture? It is just a way of laying out your code, creating your files that will make your lives easier. Let me just tell you what microservice architecture means. Now, guys, whenever you're creating a server, whenever you're creating a backend, there is actually no restriction. Let me just tell you. Let's say that I'm creating a backend. I'm creating a server for Instagram. Okay. I'm creating my business logic for Instagram. So I can actually write that all code which runs my Instagram just in a single line. It does not matter. It can be 2 million lines of code in a single file. It does not matter. It can hold that. Your files can hold that. Your server will still run. But will it be optimized? Not exactly. Will it be fast? Not exactly. Why? Very heavy file. Why? Because it needs to read through a lot of lines of code every single time there is a new request. So yeah, not a smart way to do it. But can I do it? Yes, absolutely. So that's why, to not fall into these type of traps, to not have these sort of problems, we use something known as architectures or the microservice architecture. Microservice architecture. Okay. What is microservice architecture? It just tells you that whatever things you have, whatever logic you have, right? Just break it down into bits of code. Just don't write everything in a single file. That's a very stupid thing to do. What you can do is just break that down and create separate files for writing every single of your logic. If you really think about it, that's what most of the people do. That's what all do. You break down your logic, and then when you require something, or when you require a combination of something, use them. If I require a combination of these two logics, use them. If I require a combination of these two logics, use them. I can mix and match and I can use them. But initially I'll break and create separate files and write my code. I'll create separate logics. How is that useful? The reason being, if I have any error in future, if I want to update something, I know exactly where to look. I know exact file where I need to update. If I have an error, I know exact file where to check for. If I want to scale my project, if I want to scale it, if I want to make it accessible to a lot of people, right? That is also possible because now I can even work on scalability. So yes, we are always in a win-win situation if we use something known as a microservice architecture. What you do is you break your code into small services. Let's say if you talk about Instagram, you have a service of login, right? That's a service, that's a logic, because you need to log in, you need to write your credentials, then only you log in. That's a type of service. Now you have something like sign up. That's a type of service. Now you have something like post. I can post a story. That's a type of service. Now you have search. You can search for something. That's a type of service. So all of them have a different sort of logic for them, right? Now what I need to do for login might not be required for search, right? If you really think about it, yeah, I don't, right? For login, I require my username and password or an email and password. But do I require the same thing for search? No, I don't think so. I require a username, right? I require a username of a person. So yeah, they have basically different logic and there is no need for creating a single file for storing all that data. Because it will be bulky, it will be hard to manage, and it will be hard to update and find bugs, errors. And that's why we break it down into microservices and then we use it. Because yes, now you know if you are facing a problem in the login part. Let's say Instagram is facing some problem and people are not able to log in into it. They know which file to check. They know which section of the code to check. They don't need to work on the rest of the things. Everything else is working, right? Are you getting the logic behind microservices and what it will achieve? It will make your code more and more scalable, guys. More and more people will be able to work on it and it will be easier to interact, debug, update, and do everything. Yes or no? Do you agree or not? And were you able to understand? I'll repeat it, not an issue. Okay, so what microservice architecture does is it just breaks your logic. Okay, breaks your main logic into sections. Okay, let me just show you a little bit brief example. Okay, so let's say that again, I'm talking about, let's say Twitter or Instagram, whatever you take. Let's say Instagram, because we have a lot of different functionalities. Now Instagram, I'm able to log in, right? Let's say if you are not using microservice architecture, I am logging into my account. So for that, I'll have to write some amount of code. Let's say 120 lines of code is the logic for my login. Okay, on the server, I need to write 120 lines of code, and that is the logic which my server uses for logging in a user. Similarly, I have sign up, and that uses some amount of logic. Similarly, I have something else, let's say search, and that uses some other 200 or something of that sort of logic. Okay, now if you keep all of this in a single file, you can see that yes, it ends up to be a lot of code. And if I really try to find an error in this code, it will be headache. If I want to update something, it will be a problem. If I want to manage it, it will be a problem. Because yes, a lot of lines of code, a lot of logic inside it in a single file. That's why we break it down into something known as a microservice architecture. What we do is we create separate files for each of our logic. So if we have a login logic, we use another file. If we want to sign up, if we have a logic for that, we make another file. If we have a search logic, if we want to implement something related to search, we create another file. In this way, I am able to manage my code. It's more scalable. I'm able to find more errors easily if there are any. And yes, I am in a positive fact making my website faster as well. So yeah, that's the reason this is how we use it. I think now it's clear. Okay, great. So now we know how exactly servers work and what we'll be learning in server, what tech we'll be using. We'll not get into the deep of it. Okay. We'll not talk about what Node.js and Express.js are. Yes, they are actually a little bit heavy topics. We'll talk about them later. But yes, now we know how they work. But yes, after that, in both of them, when we talk about backends, we need to be very careful that we need to use microservice architecture, because that will make our code easier to read, easier to debug. No, it's not a separate technology. It's just an architecture. It's just a way of layout. Okay, so when we'll use or when we'll build our server with the help of Node.js and Express, we just need to keep in mind that we need to use microservice architecture. We need to break our code. We need to break our code into certain files and then build it. Okay, it's not a separate technology. It's just a way of building or storing, or you can say creating your files and structuring your data. Okay, we'll talk about it more when we get into Node and Express.js. But yes, that's what exactly it is. Now, after knowing the backend and after knowing how exactly backend works, then we'll shift to something known as server. So in our server, we have only one thing, not server, sorry, my bad, but database, guys. Now we know how the first two layers are made, front end and back end. Now we'll know about how our database works. So we will be using something known as MongoDB, which is a very popular NoSQL database. If you don't know what SQL and NoSQL is, does not matter. Skip it for now. We'll talk about it in detail. But it is a database. It is a storage unit. It is used for storing data, guys. Now remember, it's used for storing small amount of data, guys. It can't store heavy data. Remember, it can't store videos. It can't store music videos. It can't store MP3 files. It can store small bits of data. Remember, small bits of data. Okay. Like if you have 2 MBs of data, it can store, not greater than that. Okay. It's not in total 2 MBs. It just means that if you have a chunk of data, if you have a list of things you need to store, let's say you have a list of some items you want to buy from the grocery, then the size of the file can be max to max 2 MBs, and 2 MBs is actually very big, guys. If you really think about it, 2 MBs is big. Now the total database size can be in terabytes, guys. It can be 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, but a single file inside it can store max to max 2 MBs of data. Okay. So there can be multiple files inside a database. So database is like this. It has multiple files, and each file size max to max can be 2 MBs, and it will store some sort of data. Okay, that's how it will do it. And this is used for storing any sort of data, right? Any sort of small amount of data. And yes, websites are always containing a lot of small amount of small basic data. And guys, remember, any business, any market always works just on data, guys. The reason people build websites is just to get as much data as they can from the people who are using it. Instagram works just on data. I can tell you clearly. They don't have data, they won't work. They won't be able to create revenue. They won't be able to create logics. They won't be able to understand user trends. Okay, there are a lot of things which happens in the companies which you might not know about, and all of that works in terms of data. So data is very important, guys, for us as a developer and for the companies as well. So we'll know about how to store it, how exactly it is accessible, and what all stuff we need to make it accessible. We'll talk about all of it, and we'll use MongoDB as a technology. So MongoDB is a database type. Okay, it's you can say company which offers databases. And yes, we'll be using MongoDB for it. And then we'll proceed to our next topic. And yeah, guys, I saw a lot of people in chat asking that will we study React? Yes, we will, definitely, guys. Why not? React is one of the most popular technologies. So why won't we study it? And yes, guys, we'll be studying React. Now, guys, one thing to remember. I told you that there is always a scope of improvement. And that's why React was created. Now, if you really ask me, was I not able to do everything which I was able to do with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Can't I make my whole front end with just this? Yes, you can. Definitely you can. But why to if it requires a hell lot of work? What you can build with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in 6 months, you can just reduce 50% of that time, and you can create the same thing with React in just 3 months. That's how fast you can develop with React. And that's why we'll be in future and at the last respecting React and working with it. So yeah, guys, we did learn about the very basics, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, for creating front ends. But at the end, we will be using something which is used by a lot of different big companies, and which is React. What is React? It is a front end library. Okay, remember, it is a front end library. And remember, guys, if you're thinking that why did we exactly study then HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Remember, you need to know that basics. Okay, you can't study React if you don't know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That will be the most stupidest thing you can do if you directly jump to React, because you will understand things. It's not like you won't, but you won't know the very basics, and it will give you problem when you have to do some complex things in React, because it all comes to basic. And it is a front end library. Remember, I told you it is a front end library. So it's like a package, guys. It on its own is enough to build your whole front end. The thing which we were building with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that all can be built with just React. Now, it's not like we won't be using CSS and JavaScript. We will be using CSS, a hell lot of CSS in it. So yes, CSS will be required. Some sort of HTML would also be required, but a little bit different sort. And yes, JavaScript is the base, guys. Why am I saying JavaScript is the base? Because React is also a JavaScript library, guys. Like earlier we talked about Bootstrap, which was a CSS library. React is a JS library, guys. What does it mean? It means that whatever you write in React, whatever code you will write in React, it will actually end up finally being what? JavaScript. Okay. Whatever you write in React will end up being JavaScript. Okay. So what it does is it just provides you a layer on top of JavaScript so that you can write easily and you can write your code very faster as compared to usual times. See, guys, Bootstrap, I'll tell you. Right. Why Bootstrap? I'll show you a reason for it. See. So guys, I told you Bootstrap is what? Bootstrap is a CSS library. Okay. Now guys, CSS libraries are very common. And I told you CSS library, what it does, it just helps you in writing your CSS faster, I told you. And if you remember, I just told you that even though we are using React, but we will still be using, in addition to React, CSS. So still you will be writing the whole CSS code which you were writing earlier. Right? You will be using React, but you will again be writing CSS code with it. So yeah, the solution which I provided you earlier, it still holds. It's not like you can't use Bootstrap with CSS or Bootstrap with React. Yes, you can. So with Bootstrap or with React, you can actually use in addition to it Bootstrap so that you can write CSS faster. That's an option for you. And guys, the reason we learn a CSS library is because libraries are very important. You should know how to use a CSS library because there are a hell lot of different libraries. Like there is something known as Material UI. You might have heard about it. It's a very popular library for CSS. Like Bootstrap, it's more popular than Bootstrap. You might have heard about something known as Tailwind. It's a very popular library. It's just became very popular because of the way it works. And yes, guys, it's commendable. And that's why Tailwind, we will also be learning Tailwind. It's also a CSS library. But the reason we start with Bootstrap is because Bootstrap is very basic. It helps you understand how libraries work. And that's why Bootstrap is the core logic which we work with. We'll talk about that. What's the difference between framework and library? I'll tell you. But yeah. So we will learn React. With that, we'll learn, we will also use CSS. And React is all built in JavaScript, guys. So whatever you will be writing in React will be actually a form of JavaScript. Okay. Now, after learning React, guys, with React, we will also use something known as Tailwind. And I told you Tailwind is again a CSS library, right? Why we are learning another CSS library then? The reason being whatever we learned earlier, Bootstrap, right? Bootstrap is a good library. but it's not perfect, guys. Bootstrap has a lot of restrictions. Like I can see a website and I can tell that it is built with Bootstrap. That is how predictable it is. Because Bootstrap has very minimalistic styles. Like if you want to create a layout, there are only certain different ways in which you can create a layout, a design in Bootstrap. And that's how predictable it is. You can see a website and you can tell it is built with Bootstrap if you have worked with Bootstrap for a few, or you can say for some amount of time. That's why we'll be using Tailwind. Tailwind breaks that, you can say, myth or that thing which you have in between, that you can't customize it. So Tailwind is a little bit smarter as compared to Bootstrap. It does not give you restrictions, and you can do all sort of customizations with Tailwind as a library. And that's why now we will learn Tailwind, and we'll use Tailwind with React. So we'll use React, and on top of it, we'll use Tailwind for CSS, for making CSS easier for us to write CSS. Okay, so we'll use both of them in combination. And with React, we will also use something known as Redux. Now guys, Redux is something just required for React. So it's just something which you require when you're using React. Okay, Redux is a technology which is required in addition to React. What is that? That is known as state management, guys. What is Redux used for? Redux is a state management tool. Now, what is state management? I'll tell you. So whenever you load a website, guys, whenever you enter a website, right? Whenever you enter, let's say, Instagram.com or Google.com or whatever website you're visiting, you actually store a bunch of data from the website. There are a lot of things being displayed to you. There is a lot of things happening on your website. You might able to see a lot of designs, a lot of data. And all that data is actually stored somewhere on your system, on your PC, right? On your browser. Now, if that data is a lot, that is a heavy data. Like Instagram stores a hell lot of data. It's a very big website. It has a lot of different parts and options. YouTube, very big website. You can do different things in it, right? Similarly, Facebook, if the websites are very large, with the increase in size of the project, with the increase in size of the website, it becomes, you can say, quite impossible to manage this huge amount of data. Earlier, for small websites, it will be very small. But when your website becomes big and big, it becomes, you can say, the data management becomes hard. Why? Because the amount of data you get and store becomes huge as well at a point. And for that, you require something known as Redux. So when you're using React, so when we create front ends, right? When we create front ends, we will be considering, or we'll be countering a point where we'll feel like, okay, now this data seems to be unmanageable. It does not feel like we can manage it. Why? Because it is a lot of data. So then we will start using something known as state management, Redux. What it does, it actually helps you in managing the data. It's like a manager for data. It will help you manage your data in the front end. So it is a data manager, or it is a data management tool for, you can say, React. Okay, it's a data management tool for React. Got it? What Redux does and how we'll be using it with React? Yes or no? We'll not get into the deep of it, what it does, how it does. We'll talk about that, all of that, but when we require it. Okay, fine. Now let's talk about one more thing. Okay. Now this is something which someone asked, but yes, very important to know. We'll talk about it in, you can say, later classes as well. But yes, very interesting thing. So what is the difference between a library and a framework? Because yes, and a framework. Okay. What is the difference between a library and a framework? So guys, libraries is basically something, or you can say a sort of code, or sort of, you can say, data, which can be reused again and again, but is very specific. Okay. So let me just explain you with a very basic example. Okay. Let me take an example of a kitchen. Okay. We are talking about a kitchen. At your home, you have kitchens for cooking food, for doing certain things, right? We have library and a framework. Now, if I just give you an example, your oven is a library. Okay. If you take a microwave, if you take an oven, that's a library. Why we call it as a library? Because it's built for a very specific task. It's built for baking stuff, right? And it can't do anything else. It's just built for a specific task. That's why it is a library. It can do something, but it is very specific. It can do only that thing, nothing else. Similarly, like React, we told React is a library. Why is it a library? Because it's a solution. It can do all of things you require for the front end, right? But it's restricted to that. You can't do anything else with it. It's just built for front end. It's very restricting, right? It's very specific that this is the specific task I can do, and I will only do that. That's what is a library, very specific task. Like you use something known as Bootstrap. Bootstrap is very specific. It says that I can help you only with CSS, nothing else. That's a library. What is a framework? Framework is a bunch of different, you can say, libraries, which all together can do a lot of stuff. So your kitchen altogether is known as a framework. What is a framework? If your oven is a library, then your whole kitchen is your framework, guys. Kitchen has a bunch of different appliances and it is able to a lot of different things together, right? That's what a framework is, guys. Framework is able to do a lot of different things all together. That's what a framework is. Framework is your kitchen, which has multiple different appliances inside it, and it can do a bunch of different tasks. Whereas library is task specific. It knows a single task it can do, and it will do only that task. Got it? Got the difference, guys? What a library and a framework is, and why we call CSS, React, or Tailwind as a library. Yeah, you can say libraries are subsets of framework in a way. Okay, great. So now we know what is the difference between a library and a framework is. And guys, now we're at the last point of the curriculum. So now we know all the basics. Now we know our full, you can say, MERN stack, right? We talked about everything. In MERN, we talked about M, MongoDB, E, Express, R, React, and Node.js. So now we know how to build a fully fledged website from the server to the backend, or you can say from the front end to the server to the database. We know all of it. But now, guys, your story does not end here. A front-end developer cannot be called a front-end developer until and unless he knows something known as DevOps, guys. You need to know at least basics DevOps. Like you can't know everything about it because it's a very specific different field. Yes, it's also known as a different field, which is DevOps, guys. You also need to know DevOps. What is DevOps? Development and operations. So when you build a website, most of the people think that building a website is a big deal, but it's actually not, guys. Building a website is not actually a very big deal. It requires max to max 6 months, even a year, but still not a big deal. Why? Why am I saying that? Why it's not a big deal? The reason being management. Management takes so much of time that it's not a big deal. It's in comparison to management. Scaling, right? When you build a website, you also need to look into different aspects, right? How it will be built, how it will be deployed, how it will be managed, who will manage it, right? Scalability, how it will scale, right? That's all which you need to also work on. And that's why we need DevOps for that. Okay, that's why we need DevOps for that. Okay. DevOps basically means that now you build a website, but you also need to manage it. You also need to work on different aspects of it. And that's why we would require DevOps. Now, what aspects we are talking about? It can be scaling. What is scaling? Let me just tell you. So when we talked about backend, there is one thing which I did not tell you about, and that is, you can say, scalability. So let's talk about it. I'll just tell you one aspect and you will know how DevOps work. And that's it. We'll not get into the deep. But backend, right? What is backend? Backend is nothing but actually it's a computer, guys. Okay, not even a computer. You can say it's a CPU. What's it? It's a central processing unit. It's like a brain. It's like a CPU at your home. That's it. It's like a computer which is running 24/7. Okay, that's what a backend is. That's what a server is.
Okay. What are servers? It's just machines which have some RAM, which have some ROM, and which have some memory. Okay. That's what you can say backend is. It stores your data, it stores your backend logic. It has some RAM and ROM so that it can process that logic. And that's what a server is. Now, actually, because it has something like restrictions, like memory, RAM and ROM, they're restricted, right? You can have a 6 GB RAM, 8 GB ROM, but they are restricted. If you want to change them, you will have to change the hardware. They are the restrictions. So because of these restrictions, you have something known as restriction in scalability. How is that? So whenever you have a backend, I told you that your front end communicates with your backend for the business logic. So if I am, you can say there are 1,000 people, right? I am on the internet and this is my, you can say Instagram or my website. And I know that front end is loaded on the browser. So everyone gets the front end. Now there are 1,000 people who have this front end. And all those 1,000 people at the same point of time are requesting to my server because they want to do some type of thing. They want to get something from the server. They want to access some business logic, right? They want to do something. So all of them are accessing the server. Now these 1,000 people are accessing the server. So my server, my backend actually needs to read or go through these 1,000 requests as fast as possible so that it can send them the required data, the required details they want, the front end wants. And you can see it's a heavy task because 1,000 requests are not less, right? So this actually gives you a restriction because RAM and ROM and a backend actually has a restriction of the size, that how many requests it can take at a point. So let's say that my server is only able to take 1,000 requests at a time simultaneously. So it means that if there are 1,000 people requesting to my server, it will say, okay, I have a limit of 1,000. I can still fulfill all of these 1,000 people's request at the same point of time. I can do that. But the point, if there is only just even increase in single person, if just one person adds or starts visiting your website in the time period when there were 1,000 people requesting for your website, he will not be able to access it. Why? Because his request will not be able to be processed because there are already 1,000 requests which are running on the server. This one won't get a chance. This one will be in a queue. Okay. This one will be in a queue. And that will keep this person waiting. So he will enter the website, but his website will keep on loading. Why? Because he is not able to get a request to the server. The server is not able to request or fulfill his needs, fulfill the front end's needs. And that is a restriction. That is a scalability problem because my backend is only able to accept 1,000, or you can say 1,000 requests. Can I make it, you can say, accept more than 1,000 requests? Yes. One of the ways is increase the RAM and ROM, increase its hard drive, increase the memory, increase the RAM, increase the ROM. But till when will you do it, right? There is a time, you can say there is a restriction to it as well. How, you can say, how fast can you make a particular CPU? There is a restriction to it. You can't just put all your money into it, right? So that's why you need something known as scalability. So what you do is basically you duplicate your server. You already have a CPU and it has all your business logic and it can accept 1,000 requests. Now the point, this, you can say even a single person increases, let's say just a single person increased and he requests, what will happen? You will use DevOps. Now what will DevOps do? DevOps will actually understand that, okay, there are already 1,000 requests going on and there is one more person who is trying to request. What DevOps will do is it will duplicate it. It will create a replica of your server. It will create a replica. It will create a copy of your server. And this server will also exactly work the same way as your front, or you can say first server is. And now it can also accept 1,000 requests individually. So now in total, you're able to access or able to, you can say, fulfill 2,000 separate requests. And that's amazing, guys. You just increase the scalability. Now, rather than 1,000, now your server is able to accept 2,000 requests. And it is, guys, highly profitable. Why? Because DevOps makes it smart. It can remember that it knows, okay, there are 1,000 people. There are more than 1,000 people. Let me just copy and create a new server. If there are less than 1,000 people, if there are only 500 people requesting, it will say, okay, fine, I don't really require this copy, I'll delete it, or it will hibernate it. It will make it sleep so that you do not, or you are not being costed for this external additional CPU, right? For yes, everything is, you can say, cost basis. So if you have a CPU running, you will be costed something. If you make a copy of it, definitely you will also be costed for that. But yes, it is again being scaled. That is what DevOps do. Scalability. Yes, DevOps is smart. And guys, don't think that DevOps is smart on its own. No, it's not. It's very dumb. You need to make it smart. So you will have to write the code in DevOps so that this happens. And this is all done with coding. You tell it on your own with coding that if there are so and so requests, then please replicate it. If 80% of the users are being fulfilled, let's say there are 800 requests, and you accept that, you can say you're thinking that there will be more requests, then create a copy. So these all things needs to be done programmatically, but yes, they can be done. No, yeah, guys, it's automatic. At a point, it gets automated, right? That's why it is known as dev and ops, development and operations. Yes, it's responsible for scalability. It's responsible for, you can say, bugs. So for checking certain bugs in your code, for testing your files, right? All of that is part of DevOps, development and operations, all the things related to the development of the website, all the things related to operation of the website, and also something known as, you can say, content delivery. Okay. Yeah, guys, these are some complex terms, but we'll know about them. For now, you know, one of the examples or one of the reasons why we use DevOps for scalability. Real world example, every big website uses it, guys. You can't actually figure it out. That's the reason I'm not giving you a real world example. You can't actually give a real world example for it because you are not able to see the backends, right? I told you you're not able to see the backend, so you can't see the architecture. But yes, it's used a lot. Every single website uses it. Netflix, yes, uses it. You can say Instagram, yes, uses it. Facebook, definitely. Airbnb, yes. Swiggy, yes. Zomato, yes. JavaScript, guys, base JavaScript. That's why we are learning JavaScript. That's why JavaScript is the very popular language, guys. If you ever see the stats, you will find that JavaScript has been on the top and will be on the top for the time being. Why? Because it is a very popular language. You might have seen that people are using C++, they are learning Python, they're learning Java. Yes, they are. But most of the work which you do is always in JavaScript, guys. And that's the reason people learn JavaScript. And I can tell you one of the examples. Now you can see everything I'm doing in web development is mostly related to JavaScript. But even you can do mobile development. You can create apps. You can create iOS, Android apps. Yes, you can create them with the help of JavaScript. You can create VR related apps, right? Virtual reality related games or apps with the help of JavaScript. You can create Windows applications. If you have ever used Discord, if you have ever used Slack on your Windows or Mac operating systems, Windows and you can say Mac operating systems, if you have used Slack, if you have used Discord, you know what it is built with? It's built with JavaScript. Yes, definitely. There is additional technologies on top of it, but the base is JavaScript. It uses something known as, what was the name? I'm actually forgetting it. Yeah, it actually uses something related to, you can say not Flutter, not exactly Flutter, because Flutter uses a language known as Dart for it. But yes, it uses something on top of it. But yes, the base is JavaScript. No, React Native is something which is used for building iOS and Android apps. Okay, that's what it uses. Yeah, the name of the thing it is uses Electron, guys. You can search for it. Electron is used for building Windows and Mac OS applications. I'll show you. So you can search for Electron.js and you'll go to the official website of Electron. And you can see it has in the name JS. It means it's built with JavaScript. And you can see the icon is similar to something like React. If you search for React, you'll feel that yes, it's all the same. And you can see build cross-platform desktop applications with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Amazing, guys. Why to learn something else if I can do that? And which companies use it? WhatsApp uses it. Twitter, you can say Twitch uses it. VS Code uses it. Slack uses it. Figma uses it. So yeah, all big companies whom you can think of, yes, definitely use it. That's the reason people stick with JavaScript. I just gave you one example. There are a bunch of them. Okay. And yeah, guys, JavaScript is yeah, you can say smart, but at a point also getting faster. There are new and new features getting every single day. Now, there was just a recent release of, I don't know, 2 or 3 days back, which made JavaScript a little bit more faster as compared to the runtime. And it is becoming more and more competitive in terms of, you can say, JavaScript, because JavaScript can do a lot of things. But yes, we will learn about that gradually. So now, yeah, that is what DevOps is. That is what DevOps does. Scalability and a lot of different things. And guys, we will also learn about something known as AWS. So yeah, guys, we'll also talk about AWS. Now, AWS is something known as Amazon Web Services. So if you know Amazon, which offers e-commerce, right? You can buy stuff, you can sell stuff. Not exactly sell, you need to be a merchant for it, but yes, you can do that. Similarly, Amazon also offers something known as web services. And yeah, it is one of the biggest, you can say, suppliers of web services. So Amazon is till now not just in the e-commerce field, it is more popularly known for the web servicing field. It offers more than 250 different services in the web industry. And we'll be using some of it. Like it offers cloud computing. It offers a lot of different things. Guys, can you tell me, is there any disturbance in my voice? Okay. Guys, check your internet. There might be a little bit of issue on your side. Okay. Because I think there is no issue on my side. But yeah. Okay, let's proceed. So yeah, now you know that, yes, I'll tell you what cloud computing is. But yeah, it's an off-topic question. But yes, I'll tell you what it is. But yes, that is what AWS does. It offers Amazon Web Services. Now, these web services can be used for a lot of things. Like, let me tell you, like you have mailing service. So Amazon offers a mailing service so that you can send mails to, you can say, people. Okay. That's what the mailing service does. It has something known as a S3 bucket service, which we'll be using. We'll be using a S3 bucket service. Now, I told you that your databases, your you can say MongoDB database is only able to store a max size of 2 MBs, right? Then if I want to store images, if I want to store images in something of that sort, it's big, right? Videos are big. So where can I store it? You need to use something like S3. S3 is a bucket storage. Okay. They are known as bucket storage. They can store very big files. Even 1 terabyte size files they can store. They are used for, or they are built for, you can say, heavy storing or heavy storage data. Now, if you have ever seen Netflix, Netflix is a very big team, guys. You know, Netflix is very popular. Netflix has its own production for different films. But you know what? Netflix is very smart. Netflix does not have its own server. Remember, guys, Netflix uses all the AWS web services. Netflix uses S3 buckets to store their movies inside it. To manage it, access it. Netflix uses a lot of different Amazon web services to keep running their servers. And we'll be using, yes, we'll be using different Amazon web services so that our application keeps on running. We'll also deploy our website on AWS. We'll do that. We will use Docker, right? So when we are learning about DevOps, we will be learning about Docker as well. I didn't tell you, but yes, we'll be learning Docker. So when we will be learning Docker, when we'll be learning Kubernetes CI/CD, it's all a part of DevOps. I didn't tell you that, but yes, we'll be learning Docker, Kubernetes CI/CD. It all is actually in combination. These technologies makes that scalability happen. Okay, that's what it is used for. Yeah, Klaus. Yeah, guys, Google Cloud is also option. There are a lot of options, guys. It's not like just AWS offers it. But yes, AWS is the most popular one. Most of the companies which you will be working with will use AWS over Google or Azure. Like Azure is also something which you might know about. Microsoft Azure, yes, popular, but not as popular as AWS. If you look into the market share, guys, there is something known as a listing of web services. You can look online, you'll get a web listing of market shares, that which company has the most of the shares or web services. Which of it? You will see that the AWS is always at the top, because most of the people use AWS because of its centricity. Like I can find every single service in AWS. And that's the reason I would not go anywhere else if I can find all of that in a single place. Right. No, guys, we won't be learning about all of this. See, we need to touch DevOps. Okay, DevOps is a very big field. If you're thinking that you can cover everything in DevOps, sorry, not exactly. The reason being, DevOps is a very big field, guys. I'll tell you why. The reason being, DevOps is a separate field. Whenever you go into a multinational company, you go as either a full stack developer, front end, or a back end developer. That's what your work is. You won't be ever bothered with DevOps or anything of that sort. That's not your problem. Scalability is not your problem. But as a full stack developer, if you're working in a small team, if you're working on your own pace, then you need to know how all of this works. So yes, you'll know how scalability works, but you'll not know about all of these technologies because they are core technologies of DevOps. Like Jenkins is a core technology of DevOps. Maven is a core technology of DevOps. Helm, right? Ansible, that are core technologies. You will know whatever you require to get started with it. Yeah, guys, AWS is a paid service. So initially, when you create an account on AWS, you get a free tier. Okay, you get a free tier. You can use all the services to an extent for free. I'll also tell you the alternate solutions, guys. Okay, don't worry. So we'll be using AWS. I'll tell you how AWS is used. But AWS can be pretty expensive. You need to make a little bit of, you can say, you need to be a little bit on the, you can say, alert side if you want to use AWS, because yes, it can get quite expensive at certain points of times. If you're not using the AWS services properly, you might be leaking your data. You might be spending a lot of money for no reason. So I'll tell you about that, how to manage it, how to use it. And if you really don't want to spend money, I will also tell you another option that you can do apart from AWS, so that you don't need to spend money while, you can say, going through the course. We'll also talk about that. Yeah, guys. So whatever I'm scribbling, right, you'll get all of this. Okay. So you'll get a photo of this in a high resolution photo, so that you can go through all of this. And I'll also share a PDF file which contains the image. So you'll get every resource, guys. Whatever I scribble on the screen, you get it. Okay. So you don't need to worry about that. But I will prefer that you also make your additional notes. Yeah, it is being recorded. So you will also get the recording. And yeah, guys, we are done. We now know the curriculum. We did not talk about the projects, but let me just tell you. Let me just tell you by, you can say, the basic way. So when we learn fundamentals of web development, then we'll move to HTML and CSS. Now, when we talk about HTML and CSS, then we'll create our first project. Our first project will be Zomato landing page clone. So we'll build a clone of Zomato's landing page. Okay. The main page which they have for advertisement of Zomato, we'll build that. After that, we'll learn about JavaScript and Bootstrap. Then we'll build our second project. That is our, you can say, note making application. Okay. So we will make our application where you can take notes of certain things. Then we'll create, or when we learn Node.js, Express.js, microservices, then we'll build a third project. And that will be totally server based. So it won't have a front end. It will be just a server, a pure server. Initially, when we know Node.js Express, not the database, then we'll make it. And that will be our book API. Okay. So we'll build a system, a server where we can manage a list of books in a particular library. Okay. Library management, we'll build that. And after that, we will get, when we learn MongoDB, then we'll update our program. So we'll update our project, which we built earlier, so that it uses database. So now you'll also be able to store the record of the books which you were earlier storing. After that, we'll learn React, Redux, and Tailwind. With React, when we learn React, we will build something known as Book My Show clone. So if you have ever booked a ticket from Book My Show, we'll build a clone for that, so that you can book tickets for movies. Then we'll learn Redux and Tailwind, and we will build our major project, which is Zomato clone. a full Zomato clone, fully fledged Zomato clone. And yes, when we build our full project, we will also deploy it. We will also scale it. So for that last project, we'll also learn DevOps, Docker, Kubernetes, and CI/CD. And we'll also use AWS on top of it for different services of AWS. Yeah, guys, at the end of the project, at the end of the course, you will get the complementary courses. So 2 complementary courses will also be provided to you at the end of the course. You don't get it at the starting so that you don't get deviated from the course, because you will be getting a lot of things to study. So that's why you won't get it at the starting, you'll get it at the end, guys. Okay, complementary courses, complementary stuff is provided at the end. Now the DSA is actually done in CSS, so C++, I'll tell you. The DSA which you will get is or will be in the form of C++. It will be pre-recorded videos, guys. Remember, it will be pre-recorded videos. The DSA will start after a week, guys. Remember, it does not start, the DSA does not start instantaneously. It starts after a week. Remember. So yes, you won't get it for the first week. It will start from the second week. Remember that. No, guys, there will be a single mentor for different topics. You won't have specific mentors for different topic. Yes, you'll have a different mentor for DSA. So the DSA you'll have a separate mentor but for a full stack, you'll have a single mentor. See, guys, microservice architecture is not for front end, it's for back end. Okay, Redux we are using in front end. So yeah, on the front end, still we will use some sort of differentiation, but we won't use a microservice sort of architecture. Okay, front end is different. In front end, you use Redux. Microservice architecture you use in back end. See, guys, DSA will run simultaneously. Okay, it's not like it will be taught in between. It will be done continuously. So every single day you'll get, you can say, daily questions for DSA, and you'll get daily recorded videos for DSA. It will be in C++. Okay. The classes every day will be at the same timings, 8 o'clock. The reason being, most of the people feel comfortable with this timing. Right. That's why we have kept it at 8 o'clock, because you might have classes, you might have colleges, right? Schools, whatever it is. So that's why we have kept it at 8 o'clock. Guys, the recordings for now will be provided to you on daily basis. So every single day you will get a, you can say, link for the recording. You'll get it in a YouTube playlist format. Okay, guys. And guys, that's not public. Remember, the YouTube playlist link which you will get is private. Only you can access it from the link which we provide you. See, guys, whatever projects we are talking about, right? They will all be guided projects. So I will help you build this, all those projects. Okay. It's not like you will be building them on your own. Every single project we'll do together. But yes, if you want any help in your personal projects, if you're stuck somewhere, I'll definitely help you out. Guys, I did not put DSA in the structure, right, in the layout, because I am an instructor for full stack. Okay, I just teach the full stack web development. I don't teach DSA here. Okay, so the recorded videos which you get is from another instructor, not me. The questions which you ask, the doubts which you will have, whatever resolution which you'll have, it will also be done by another instructor, not me. Okay, that's the reason I did not cover it. See, guys, you need to have a little bit of knowledge of C++. Okay, that's something you will have to have. We will teach a basics of it when we start with the C++, but I would prefer that you find a little bit of resources, because on YouTube, there are a hell lot of resources present where you can help yourself with respect to, you can say, learning C++. You need to know very basics, guys. It's a very simple language. You need to know very basics of C++ to get started with it. Yeah, guys, the DSA is only in C++, not in Java. See, the reason being, C++ and C are the core languages, guys. Whichever language you use on top of it is all built on top of C++. Okay. So C++ is the base. Whatever you know in C++, if you have good understanding of the logic in C++, it won't give you a problem in learning in any other language. That's why. Yeah, guys, we'll have it at 8 p.m. every single day, 8 p.m. IST, Indian Standard Time. Guys, duration of the class depends on the topics which we are doing. It's mostly 1.5 hours, but it can vary. It can be decreased to 1 hour or it can be increased to 2 hours depending on the topic which we are studying. If I find that it's a little bit overwhelming topic and I want you to repeat or you can say practice it a lot, we'll end it at 1 o'clock or after 1 hour. Okay, because I want you to practice a little bit. But if I think that yes, this topic is fairly easy and we can cover a little bit more, then we'll increase our duration and we'll go to 2 hours. Guys, the duration of the class is 1.5 hours, and after that we have doubt classes. Okay, so duration of class is 1.5 hours from 8 to 9:30. After that, in continuation to the class, we have the doubt classes. So you can ask whatever doubts you have related to the current topics or related to the previous topics or whatever edition you are studying related to full stack. You can ask me that and I'll try to resolve it. Okay, that's how it works. Every single day you have doubt classes. If you have a doubt, you can stay. If you don't have a class, you can say doubt, you can leave the doubt session. It's not compulsory for you to stay in the doubt class. Okay. Guys, we'll be using VS Code. Okay. Initially, when I'll be teaching you the very basic topics, we will be using something known as, you can say, we'll be using something known as Code Sandbox. Okay. So when I'll be teaching you basics, right? The code which is really not required for you to have, it's just the basics. We'll use, you can say, Code Sandbox. But when we are teaching you or when we are creating some projects, we'll use proper codes, or you can say VS Code. Guys, there are a lot of things you get in between. Definitely, I told you 6 projects, but I told you the 6 major projects. In between, you also get different assignments, guys. I did not add those. You get those assignments which you need to complete and submit, right? You'll get them in between. Those are also the sort of projects format. That's why you can see that I told you 6 projects, but there are total 50, right? Those are assignment formatted projects which you will get in between. You will have to submit to, you can say, in a particular format. Guys, the C++, the DSA will be recorded format, guys. Yeah, guys, the internships are provided at the end on the basis of your performance. How you submit your projects, whatever submissions you do, on that basis, you're provided with the internships and the job offers. Okay. So guys, we are in collaboration with something known as eLitmus. So after the completion of the, you can say, course, you are ready to give the basic eLitmus test because you have also cleared the DSA. You know the basics of DSA and everything. We'll have an interview preparation and everything. And after that, you'll give a eLitmus exam or the basic exam for eLitmus, and then you will be getting the job offers. And it's a 2-year period, guys. Yeah, guys. So the 6 projects which we are talking about will be done from my side. I will be teaching you exactly all the steps. Okay, that's why. Guys, the reason MERN-Stack is used because it is very popular and highly scalable. Okay. The reason it became popular is because of the structure and how it is very maintainable and at the same point scalable. Yeah, guys, if you know Java core, that's not a problem. That's all right. You have additional knowledge and that should be fine. Yes, guys, we have placement drives. Okay. So you'll have placement drives by DevTown after the course completion. But for that, you'll have to give papers. Okay. So there will be a proper test for you. It will contain competitive and different stuff. You will know all about it. Right. And till what time you'll get job opportunities and whatever it is, you will know all of it. Guys, class timings are same. It will be 8 p.m. every single day, IST, Indian Standard Time. I can see that the rest of the things are actually getting repeated. So I'll jump to the bottom. Okay, just a sec, guys. There are a lot of messages. So guys, you need very basic knowledge, like what are variables, what are functions, right? What are for loop statements, very basic knowledge on how C++ actually is getting implemented. That's it. Guys, I told you that initially you'll be getting every single day's direct link to the recording. You will get it. Okay. Every single day's direct link to the recording you will get on the WhatsApp groups. Now, later, after the first week, we'll have a proper playlist made for you. It will be a YouTube playlist, which will be an unlisted one. So it means you can only access it with the link. You can go to the link and you can find all the list of recordings there. After that, whenever there is a new class, after that, it will be automatically uploaded to that playlist. You can have a view, you can watch that. Yeah, guys, I'll share off unofficial group link. Okay. So it will be an unofficial group link for all of you. You can join there and then we can have the class. Basically, you can have all the doubts and everything. So the doubt process is actually supposed to be like this. You're working on something, you get a doubt, you try to resolve it on your own, you spend 1 or 2 hours on it. And guys, it is important. If it is a doubt, you try to resolve it on your own. If you try to resolve it on your own, you get a good confidence. If you're not able to find a solution for it, then you go to the unofficial group, you put your doubt there, then people try to resolve it. Why? Because this is a good practice. If people try to resolve it, they also get some additional knowledge. All of you get to know some additional bugs. And then if they're not able to resolve, then we'll talk about it either in the class or then I'll resolve it directly in the unofficial group. Guys, I'll share it, guys. I told you I'll directly share it in the WhatsApp group. But when we jump to the, you can say, platform, everything will be available directly there. So whenever there is a new class, you'll get a notification from the platform that there is a new class. This is the link for the class. Whenever the, you can say, the video is uploaded, you'll have the video link directly present there. So that you can access the video. Guys, there is no specific attendance format. Okay. So it's not like you need to attend every single day. It's about knowledge, guys. Okay. If you can say skip 2 days for some certain, you can say emergency, you have a test or you have something, you need to skip it, you can. But it's on you. It's your responsibility to cope with that, right? To see the recordings, sit a little bit extra and complete that section so that you don't get confused when we are doing live classes. Okay. So attendance is being maintained. It's not like it's not, right? We take regular screenshots. It's on me. It's on my side, but nothing is revealed to you. It's not like a mandatory situation for you, right? That you need to attend for so-and-so classes, but yes, we maintain it. Guys, 6 days a week, guys. The classes are 6 days a week. Okay. Remember, the classes will be 6 days a week. But guys, initially, when we start, it will be a little bit different. So guys, I have 2 batches. Actually, I'm teaching at this point of time. And actually, you are going to be merged with one more batch. Okay. So there is a simultaneous batch, which you will be merged with. And you will both will have classes together. So because of that situation, for now, for this week, or for a bunch of weeks, you will have, you can say, alternate days classes. Like MWF, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like something of that sort. I'll tell you what the details is. and you'll have classes in that format for some period of time. When you both are at the same pace, then both of the you can say batches will be merged, and then you will have regular classes, right? That's how it will go. See guys, if you are in the 4th year, you can definitely directly get a job. But if you're not in the 4th year, I don't prefer going into a full-time job. The reason being, you need to devote a lot of time, and you definitely need to work on your academics as well. And yeah, guys, I think I've covered all the topics. Anything else? Guys, don't worry about the test right now. I told you, right? E-litmus test is after 3 months. Whatever there is for you to know, you will get to know. If you're really excited about the e-litmus test, it's a universal test. It is given by anyone. If you want, you can give it outside as well. But it is something which we provide in collaboration. So you can know about it. If you're really interested, you can go onto the internet and you can search about it. But yes, whenever there is a test, whenever there is something you need to do, you will be informed about it. Okay. For now, you really don't need to know and get worried about it. So relax. Guys, internship opportunities are totally on the basis of how you work, how you perform, how you interact. Okay. It's totally on that basis. When you'll at the end of the classes or at the end of the course, when you'll submit your projects for the review before the certifications, there will be certain people who will be performing very well. And on that basis, you'll get the internships and certain things. Yeah, guys, you'll also get that. Okay. So yes, interaction and mentor based sessions, you'll also have that. Yeah, guys, definitely. 14 LPA is not a big mark, guys. Okay. If you want to get a package like 14 LPA, I would not say it, but yes, that's not a big deal. You can definitely. But yes, remember, guys, you need to work on DSA as well, because DSA is a very crucial part. Okay. You might have a lot of skills, but when you talk about a multinational company, the first thing they check is something known as DSA, data structures and algorithm, for your analytical skills. That's why. No, guys, everyone will not get an internship. Okay. It's based on your performance and how you interact and everything else. Okay. No, no, guys, specific notes will not be provided. If there is a PPT, I will provide it to you. If I'm teaching you through a PPT presentation, some notes are specifically there, we'll provide it to you. But it is always required for you to create your own notes. That's the best thing to do. If there is something important, you will have it. And guys, it's a WebD field. WebD is a very big field. It's a very common field. And a hell lot of resources are already present on the internet. I just don't want to burden you with it. There are a lot of different resources I will refer and I'll let you know, because there are a lot of resources I'll show you on the internet and I'll share it with you as well, that I find are very good and can help you become a full stack web developer. You really don't need to have additional notes, but if you want, you can have it. Yeah, guys, you are definitely good to leave, guys. We are done with the class. So it's a doubt session going on. So you are good to leave. Guys, there will be. So whenever there are something or some important resources, I'll let you know. But yeah, if you need anything related to Web3 or web development, there is something known as Web3 School. That's the best resource, guys, you can find on the internet related to web development. You can find everything related to front end there. Everything related to front end. That's known as W3 School. You can search it online. Yes, guys, you also get competitive programming practice questions. No, guys, there is no specific homework. You don't get such specific homeworks. You get some tasks which will be totally based on certain scenarios and certain topics which we cover. For today, you don't have any homework because we just started with the orientation. Yeah, guys, we'll also learn about GitHub and LinkedIn. Don't worry about that. You'll also have stuff regarding that. Guys, internships and placements are different, guys. Okay. Internships are basically like we find some opportunities in, you can say, different companies. We find some openings in our own company and we find people who are comfortable and we find good enough according to their performance. We give them offers. It's on them to take it or not. And we proceed further. That's how we take it. Okay. That's how we go. Because we have people who are still working with us from our previous batches because they were good, they were performing good, they have been working with us in our company at sort of different places, right? I have people who are working with me who are from my previous batch. Okay, they're working on something with me. But yes, it totally depends on the scenarios and how you interact. See, guys, it's not supposed to be like that. Okay, definitely companies ask for 2-3 years of experience, but that is totally for different roles. If you apply for a senior role, definitely no one will give you that because it requires 2 to 3 years of experience. You need to start as a fresher, guys. And it's not like freshers are not paid well, guys. If you're good at it, if it is a good company, if even if it is a startup, they pay you very well on the basis of your scenario and how you work, right? On the basis of how smart you are, how the interactions you do. It totally depends on that. See, guys, every internship to everyone is not possible. Just think about it. There are 160 students in just a single batch. We have simultaneous batches working. And how can we just tell you that every single one of you will get placed? Because every single one of you do not do that amount of work. Trust me, guys. There will be students who will not attend every single class and they'll ask the same doubts repeatedly again and again. It's not a problem. I'll answer them again and again, but it's on your part as well that if you miss a class, then you need to redo or go through the recording, right? That's your part. That's something you'll have to do. You'll have to read through additional resources if you want to be good than others. If you don't do that, you can't perform well. And yes, guys, everyone does not perform well. And if everyone gets an internship, there is a lot of competition, guys, if you really think about it. And WebD is a market where there is a lot of competition, guys. Guys, they will be provided. Don't worry about it. Whatever notes are to be provided, they will be shared to you in the WhatsApp groups. Okay. And yeah, guys, that is it for today, guys. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice day. We will finish our class here. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll continue with the rest of it. Till then, bye-bye and take care, guys. You don't need to install anything at this point of time, guys. Whenever there is any requirement, you will be basically informed. That's it, guys. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll continue with the rest of it. Definitely, you were told, guys, remember, you were told that you won't have a class on Sundays. But for this Sunday, we will definitely have a class. We'll have a short class, but we'll have it. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. And we'll meet tomorrow at same 8 p.m. IST. Bye, everyone.